Hello there, welcome back to Jennie Designs with Paper. Thanks for stopping by my channel today. I'm trying to play catch up in my art journal, so get comfy and let's get crafty. These are the June weekly prompts for the Mission Inspiration Facebook group Mixed Media Art Journal Challenges. Harmony, imperfection, limits, and story. And yes, I'm still behind, but I'm getting caught up, I think. So I've cropped out the images and printed them onto a piece of paper that will fit the back of my art journal page. And I'm going to start by creating the background to my art journal page on a gel plate. I'm using some, I think it's Stormy Sky, but kind of a blue acrylic paint. This is a Distress Ink acrylic paint. I'm rolling it onto my gel plate with a brayer. It's a little bit, I don't think I cleaned it off very well last time. I had to take some alcohol to it. I don't think I cleaned it off very well because it's kind of resisting the paint, but that's okay because it ends up working in my favor. To add some texture to the background of my page, I have this long leaf, it's like a fern branch, a really long fern branch die, and I am placing it onto my gel plate and pushing it down with like my fingers and a stylus and whatever is there, and trying not to smudge the outline or the image of that leaf die cut because I want that to be visible in the background of my page just for, background. So I'm going to go ahead and keep doing that inside out, upside down, around. One of them even goes on slightly bent instead of straight. And some of them are more visible than others. On the left side of my plate is where I put the paint, and so it was a little thicker there. And so while in the beginning it looks like a better impression, as that paint kind of fell back into or seeped back into the open spaces from the die, they became less clear, which I thought was an interesting accidental find. And on the right side where the paint was thinner, it dried faster, so the impressions were less dramatic. So interesting find. Yeah, I just was like, I didn't expect that. And then I had one corner that was, empty, so I had to put some more some more leaves in it just because, you can't leave well enough alone. I did end up trimming this page down, so I got most of what I wanted on the page anyway. So I'm going to grab a piece of copy paper. Oh, no, I'm not. I lied. I'm going to put some white acrylic paint over the top of it because that's how you lift the print, right? So I put a very thin layer of the white acrylic paint. And then I saw a video, I think it was an Instagram reel or a story or something, whatever they're called, where they heat set the paint a little bit before they put the paper on to pull the print. So I thought I would try that. So I grabbed my heat tool and I didn't let it warm up or anything. I didn't want it to kind of melt that gel plate. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and heat set that and then put the copy paper. So this is a 32-pound copy paper. So not your, average cheap stuff, but one step a little higher. And I'm using both the brayer and then my hands to go over this paper just to get some really firm pressure to pick up all that paint off of the gel plate. I spent a little more time on this print getting the paper to stick to that gel plate because the leaf background in the print is what I was trying to accomplish. A lot of times when I'm playing with my gel plate, I don't have a plan. So I just pick up whatever I can pick up and I move on from there. But I really wanted to get that leaf imprint as intact as possible. So I started pulling it up, and on the left side where there was more paint, it wasn't quite dry enough to pick up clean. So I just kind of laid it back down, and a good percentage of that paint came off. So it was kind of perfect. To clean my plate, I put another really thin layer of that white acrylic paint over the gel plate. And I did not heat set it this time. I just let it's super thin. So while I was cleaning off my brayer on the pickup paper, it just sat and dried a little bit. And then I used the same paper I've been rolling my brayer off onto to pick up that the rest of the paint off my gel plate. And most of it came off. I did, I stopped for a minute and cleaned off my hands because I was spraying paint everywhere. I really let it try and sit to see if I could get all of the paint off doing it this way. And I did get most of what was left. I just had to clean up the edges a little bit, and then, a couple little splots here and there. So, and I'll just save that for another day. So here's my print, and I love how you can see those leaf impressions in it. It reminds me of like a fossil kind of. So I'm going to trim this down. The first thing I did was trim the edges off. My gel plate is 8 by 10 and the paper is 8.5 by 11, so a little bit to trim off there. And then I decided to just to pick which side I wanted. I wanted that left side. So I'm going to trim it down to 5 1/4 by 8 1/4 because I want to create some a frame around it. So like the first weekly prompt was harmony, and the black frame here is part of my harmony. That's part of how I'm creating harmony on my page, is by adding a black frame. So I'm grabbing some Tombow liquid glue, and I'm just going to put some liquid glue all over the back of this gel print paper and add it to this black cardstock. This is a 110-pound black cardstock from Michael's, I think. Yeah, Michael's, I think. I don't know. Somewhere. It's 110 pound. It's or 120 pound even. It's a heavy cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and brayer that down just to make sure. And so the other part of my harmony is to add some marks onto my page with black acrylic paint. So I have this cap. It's the cap off of a water bottle, like a one-time use water bottle. So I'm going to add a couple of groupings of circles. There we go, in English, on the right-hand side of my page. I thought maybe 2 in the bottom, but let's be honest, I can't leave long enough alone. So I added 3. And I heat set that with my heat tool because I had a couple little globbles of black paint there. And even when I thought that was dry and I got ready to move on to my next step, I wasn't quite sure. I wasn't convinced it was dry. So I grabbed a piece of scrap paper and laid it down over the front. I did pull out a Sharpie pen and a ruler. And this is where I was like, yeah, I don't trust that it's all the way dry. I didn't want to lay my ruler in wet paint. Not that it couldn't clean off, but I didn't want to lay my ruler in wet paint. So I grabbed a piece of scrap paper and just lifted that up to make sure it was mostly dry. It's still not mostly dry. But I'm going to take that black Sharpie pen and my ruler and just draw a couple of straight lines, both through these clusters of circles and then also over on the left-hand side because that will create some more harmony. I did need to clean the paint off the back of my ruler because I didn't want a glob of paint over here on the left. So I just added some lines. Now here is my harmonious page, right? The border and the black marks, they're harmonious, they work together, they're flowing nicely, and the next prompt is imperfect. So I intentionally added something that I didn't like in a way I didn't like it, and I left it, and that was orange paint. Orange and blue are both harmonious and imperfect at the same time. They are complementary colors, so they are harmonious in that way. But this is a rather bright shade of orange, and I'm putting it on with kind of this funny little shaped palette knife because most of the time I don't like how those spots of paint go down like that. And except for that one in the middle on the left, I kind of actually liked them. So I tried to make them look worse because, again, the prompt here is imperfect. So I got my finger wet with a baby wipe and I smeared that paint around to make it look like I didn't like it. And it smeared into that black little glob of paint, which is fine because it is imperfect. And I'm trying to leave it imperfect as opposed to trying to fix it because that is the name of the theme of the week, right? Imperfect. I did dry that off, and then I added a little bit of watered down white paint over the top because it was reading neon, and I couldn't. Adding the white paint made it worse, not better. So there's more imperfection for you. It eventually just became this big, huge blob of kind of sort of orange paint. So imperfection all the way through. I did go ahead and heat set that so it would dry. I didn't want it to smear as I moved on to the next part of the page, but I wanted to put the black lines back in. I had covered them up with that orange and white acrylic paint, so I grabbed my ruler and I grabbed that Sharpie pen, except the first minute I didn't have the Sharpie pen. I had a brush nib pen, so that's a little imperfect too. So, and then the nib of my Sharpie pen got covered in paint, so it didn't really put the lines back on, but it kind of put the lines back on. So, the third word of the week, or the third week, was limit, which I have tied the third and fourth weeks together in both my quote and my focal point. So my quote reads, and let me flip my page over so I can make sure I read it right. Reading has the magical power to expand your limit or your limits. And I found a couple of images just on Google. These were free images, free for use images of a stack of books and then a person climbing. And I kind of merged them together on my, I just use Publisher for most of this because that works for me. I can group them together like that. And I put them on with some liquid medium. It's a matte medium. It is not shiny. It is matte, and it is a liquid medium. So matte liquid glue. There we go. Oh my goodness, y'all. I can't even today, but that's okay. And I went over the top of it because I realized I forgot to go around the edges with anything to kind of hide that white cut edge. So I did go ahead and make sure I had covered the top of it with some of that liquid medium to make it non-porous, so I could go ahead and add some color to the outline of it. And I did that with a Skinny Barrel Pitt pen. Pitt pens are India ink, and so for just a minute on a non-porous surface, they are smudgeable. I did not have enough ink around the edge of this to make it super smearable, but the point of this pen was just to cover up the white, like the places where I hadn't cut it quite perfectly when I cut it out with my scissors. So I'm just going around it with the Pitt pen. Every once in a while, I dab my finger on that wet wipe and kind of smear that, smudge that around, especially as I got to the person. I wanted to make sure I did not have any of that black ink smear onto like the hands and the face, because that would be weird. You know, we don't need to be doing any of that weird black face stuff. That's just not okay. So I went ahead and cleaned that off because it was just looking weird. And then I cut my quote strip into 2 pieces. So it still reads, reading has the magical power to expand your limits. I just printed it bigger than would fit on my page because, well, I wanted to be able to read it, and clearly I was not paying attention. I'm going to go ahead and lay these down kind of over toward the left over my focal image so that I don't accidentally punch a hole in the quote so you won't be able to read it. I'm using Tombow glue. Once I have them down, I'm going to grab a watercolor pencil, like a dark brown, and go around the quote blocks in a dark brown watercolor pencil to kind of blend them into the background of the page. And I'm doing very sketchy lines. I'm going past the edges on, both the horizontal and vertical edges, so they have kind of hash marks at the end. And once I have that all outlined with the pencil, I will go ahead and bring a very damp, narrow paintbrush in to blend out that watercolor pencil pigment. That was a tongue twister. It did kind of get onto the word block a little bit, so I used a microfiber rag that's sitting on my desk and kind of blotted it up a little bit because it's just copy paper. It's a thicker copy paper, but it's just copy paper, and I didn't want it to peel up or anything like that. And so that's my whole page. I did sign at the bottom, and I did date it June, even though I made it in August, because this is the June monthly prompts for Mission Inspiration Group. I'm going to glue my prompt card down to the back of the page. Down below in the description box, you will find a link to the Mission Inspiration Facebook group and Mike Deacon's YouTube channel. He is the curator of all things Mission Inspiration. So I have my holes punched in it so it can go into my art journal, and here is the finished page. I still hate the orange, but it is imperfect. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I have a couple of other videos here I think you would like. I've also added that subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you did. Leave me a comment down below and tell me how often you manage to get your crafting time in during the summer. And give me a thumb up if you like the video, and have a really great day.